how are you guys doing? We are going to be going over chapter 16, which is one of my favorite chapters to lecture on. We're going to be talking about biological resources. So from this point on in the semester, we're going to be going over different resources. Last week we talked about water as a resource. This week will be environmental resources. I think next week is land resources. And then we're going to talk about food as a resource. So I hope you guys are all doing okay, given the state of everything, and staying safe out there, washing your hands, doing everything you're supposed to be doing. I'm hopeful that this will be over soon, but I don't think I will see you guys anymore, which is really sad. All right, so let's go over what we're going to be talking about today. This picture here is actually a blue-faced monkey. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. They are found in the northern parts of Asia, so parts of Russia and China, in the mountainous areas in the snow. So people think that this is where the legend of Bigfoot came from, because they do walk on their two legs and they're quite tall. So people think, I think they're like 4 feet. People think this is where the legend of Bigfoot came from. If you guys are interested in these monkeys, there's a really amazing show on BBC, and it's called Seven Wonders, I believe, and the episode is called Asia. It just came out this year, so it's really amazing to watch these animals. So we're going to be looking at biological diversity, and when we talk about biological diversity, it's really, the term we're going to be using is biodiversity, right? So this term, biodiversity, is just biological diversity, shortened into, one word. So biodiversity refers to the number, variety, and variability of Earth's organisms. It consists of 3 components: genetic diversity, species richness, and ecosystem diversity. So yes, I know this chapter we're looking at a lot of pictures of really cute animals and different types of animals, but we have to remember when we talk about biodiversity, we're also talking about animals on Earth, obviously terrestrial biological resources, and we have to remember that plants are also included in biodiversity, and we cannot forget about those ecosystems within the ocean, right? Because, for instance, the coral reef is where we have some of the world's richest ecosystems with the highest biodiversity. Okay, so biodiversity, you can find places on Earth that have high biodiversity, right? You have many different organisms present. And you can have places on Earth where you can have low biodiversity with just a few types of organisms. So if we were in the classroom, I would ask you guys, what is one place on Earth where you can guess that it's going to have high biodiversity? Most of you guys would say the rainforest. Yes, you're correct. The coral reefs. Yes, you're correct, right? What about low biodiversity? Where are places on Earth where we don't find much variety in terms of plants and animals and species richness? A lot of times people answer the desert, which is correct, but also the tundra, right? The boreal forest. There's a lot of trees, but there's not a variety of trees, right? There's really just one type of tree. So it's not high in biodiversity, that boreal forest, although if you look at it, you think, wow, there's a lot of plants here, there's a lot of trees here. That doesn't mean it's high in biodiversity, although it's very important. So when we talk about biodiversity, there are these places on Earth which we call biodiversity hotspots. These are bioregions that is both in order for it to be considered a biodiversity hotspot, it must be threatened with destruction and have a high biodiversity in terms of plants and animals, right? So if this place is high on biodiversity, but it's not threatened with destruction, it wouldn't be called a biodiversity hotspot. So the reason really why it's a hotspot is to kind of not draw attention to it, but create a place where, I guess, draw attention to it, right? So, you know, most of us think, hey, biodiversity hotspot, obviously the rainforest. Yes, you are correct. I would say all of our rainforests are threatened, whether it be with destruction, land use, urbanization, climate change, wildfires, all those things. Yes, those are correct. But there are other places on Earth that are kind of surprising that they are a biodiversity hotspot. Right now, there's about 34 biodiversity hotspots on Earth. Some sources say 35, so that kind of changes here and there. But in order for it to be a biodiversity hotspot, it has to have at least more than 1,500 endemic plants, meaning that those plants are only found in that region. They're endemic to that geographical area. So I'm going to highlight just a couple of them. Let's look at the diversity map. This one's pretty recent. If you'll notice, yes, most, if not all, of our rainforests, right, they're threatened. Here we go. Here's another rainforest. Sorry. Okay, and let me just start again. Most of our rainforests are threatened. So we have this area here, which is the Lhasa ecosystem in Borneo, Asia, Indonesia. So I'm going to be highlighting this area. You have the Cerrado, which is kind of like, it would be kind of like savanna and rainforest, right? And you have the rainforest of West Africa. So you'll notice not every single rainforest is considered a biodiversity hotspot, which is surprising, right? We would consider every rainforest a biodiversity hotspot. So the ones I am going to highlight on the next slides is this area here. And would you look at that? I'm such a dork sometimes. Where we live is actually a biodiversity hotspot. So let's look at the California Floristic Province. This is not necessarily the chaparral, because the chaparral would just be this area right here, right? This is a little more extensive than that. So we call all this area that is highlighted in that orange color along California, the California Floristic Province. This is home to over 3,400 native plants and animals. And when we have, you know, that geological variety, you have so many faults, so many things going on, which foster these very rich soils, which then give you a rich species of plants, which in turn bring in the insects and bring in those different types of animals. We have so much. We have coastline, we have rocky coastlines, we have deserts, we have valleys, we have mountains. So all this really fosters great variety in terms of plants and animals that, you know, in North America, this is the only biodiversity hotspot. In the developed world, it is the only biodiversity hotspot. So, you know, when we think of California as not being very diverse, we live in this biodiversity hotspot, and of course it's threatened. It's threatened for many reasons. It's threatened because of climate change, land use, wildfires, urbanization, and, you know, the main driver of all these things is going to be human population. Right? It's because we are expanding and we're growing at a rate that is unparalleled. So the pictures of these cute little foxes I have here, this is a San Joaquin kit fox. I think I've mentioned before that I absolutely love foxes, right? This is just one species of the various types of foxes we find in California. They are currently threatened. They are endangered. You would find them in parts of Bakersfield and the Central Valley a little bit more. So they're threatened because of land use, same reason, urbanization and population growth. And if you look on the Fish and Wildlife website, there's a lot of reasons and things that we can do as humans to help their population. So a lot of these little foxes get caught in nets and gates, and they end up dying that way. So a lot of the reasons that another reason that they're endangered is because of poaching and hunting for these cute little foxes. Aren't they the cutest thing that you've seen in a long time, right? Cutest thing you'll probably see all day. Let's look at another area that I am enamored with. This is another of my favorite animals. And I say that, right? My top two are orangutans and foxes, but I think I love all animals. But the Lawser ecosystem found in Sumatra, Indonesia. So all this area here in Southeast Asia is a huge rainforest, which is threatened because of deforestation. The reason that they are clearing these forests obviously is for land use. And the reason behind that is to plant these palm oil plantations. So they clear the land and they plant these palm trees, which have this little seed on there, which are these like orange little things, and they take them and they press them until oil comes out. So we call this palm oil. Palm oil is an incredibly pervasive ingredient in almost everything in our homes. Okay, so what's important about this area is the Lawser ecosystem is the last place on Earth where you would find orangutans, rhinos, tigers, elephants living together in the wild still. It is a threatened ecosystem because our demand here in our market for palm oil, it is just a very cheap commodity. It helps products become shelf stable. Instead of using vegetable oil, glycerine, palm oil is much cheaper than products that were used before. Now, in some of your products, you can look at the back and say, oh yeah, this has palm oil on it because it will say palm oil. But now companies are getting smarter because, there is more information about palm oil out there. And so, consumers will not buy a product that says palm oil because they are aware of what's going on in this biodiversity hotspot. So now they are changing the name. It'll say glycerin oil, vegetable oil. It'll say sodium lauryl sulfate. So this product has now many different names. So what is happening specifically to these orangutans is, first, the beauty of these animals is that they're incredibly smart. They are the closest to us in our DNA. So they also live with their mom for about 13 years, which is a very long time in the animal world. They stay with their mom about 13 years and they leave. They have their own little family and they come back and visit. So they hang out with their family. They're incredibly social animals, and primarily they live their life in trees. So they build, 90% of their life is in the tree. That's why they have those extremely long arms to stretch from tree to tree. Then they also have been noted to use tools. So if you see this little picture here, he's using this little leaf as an umbrella, which is not seen in a lot of animals. So they are incredibly smart. There's videos online you can see when pregnant women go to the zoo and they see the orangutan enclosure. The orangutans go up to these pregnant women and start to kiss through the window or touch their belly because they are so intuitive at what's going on in a human's body. So it's amazing what these animals are. So cute too, right? Like baby orangutan. Oh my God, he's so cute. But what happens is they live their life in the tree. So when these loggers and companies come to clear the forest, they're not worried about these trees. And they're not worried about these animals. The cheapest way to clear a forest is by burning it. So they're not really out there making sure that all these orangutans are out of the trees, so they just, take down the orangutans with the trees. So many of them have been killed. A lot of the babies are being found with their moms, clinging to their moms. But there are some conservation efforts out there which go out and take the orangutans of an area that will be cleared. So they kind of rescue them and help them, and they keep them in these sanctuary homes, which I mean is good, right? But at the same time, these animals should be in trees and living their life in the wild. So that is incredibly sad. Some places in Europe have been banning palm oil products and demanding fair trade palm oil. So you have to look out for that. So I don't know if this video will work while I am recording. Let's give it a shot. Oh no, it won't. So I will have the links to these videos for you to watch. And it's just a little more about what's going on in the Lázaro ecosystem.